Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Happy to be with you this Inauguration Day. It's Monday night. We are live. Our phone number is 833-4-VALDEZ, and I am broadcasting live from the nation's capital. I've been here since Friday. What an amazing time we're having. It's morning in America again, is what Ronald Reagan said many years ago, and I feel that way today. Donald Trump taking the oath of office today. What a glorious day. Amen. Praise God. Hallelujah. Right? Can you tell I'm excited? I hope you're excited too. And I'm hoping to have some really good conversation with you guys tonight. I'm going to tell you all about what the weekend has been like. We've been to a couple of inaugural balls. There's another party tonight. There's a lot going on. El Trompito de Aldis Magnus, the 45th president and 47th is of the United States. He's been running around town taking no shorts here, right? He's doing it big time, signing executive orders left and right, tossing pens to the people in the crowd at the Capital One Arena, showing up at the Capital One Arena. Then he shows up at the overflow room at the Capitol, which is the Capitol Visitor Center, during the swearing-in ceremony, saying hello to everybody there, giving a speech there that was even longer than the original inaugural address, and telling the crowd that they were better looking and younger than the original crowd, which included, of course, all the members of Congress and the Supreme Court. There was about 600 people in the rotunda for that one. And very exciting day. He's out there signing these executive orders again, and it's very exciting. Now, I want to just give you some of the headlines that are going on, because you've got here, migrants are now weeping. There's photos of them weeping in Mexico as the Trump administration has now canceled all appointments for Biden's CBP-1 app. Right now, that's the Customs and Border Patrol app that allows people to kind of bypass the immigration system, and that's kind of how they've been running the open border. And this happened immediately after he was sworn in. Now, of course, by now you've heard Joe El Baboso Biden was he said, with 12 minutes to go before I'm not president anymore, and I'm sitting here next to Trump, I think I'm going to go ahead and pardon my own family. What a disgrace he is! But it's over. And listen, I'm not here to hold grudges. I won't forget, but I'm not here to hold grudges. Anyway, I want you to listen to this historic moment as Donald John Trump, the 47th president of the United States, took his oath of office.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
What a day, what a day. I'm clapping all over again here in the studio, because it was just great to watch. It's great to be here in town. It's great to see the excitement, the energy. There's so many people running around, and because it's so cold, right? It's 18, 19 degrees right now. I got to tell you, it was glorious. Really, that's the best word to use. Watching all these people from all over the place. I've met people from South Korea. I've met people from India. I've met people from all over the place with these Trump hats on, these Trump beanies with pom-poms on top. They are absolutely thrilled. I met people from Texas today, and they all have a mission. They all have a mission. These people are all doing, I'm going to say, God's work out there. One woman said, "Hey, we have this organization that we do. We raise money to house women that have been trafficked and get away from their traffickers." I thought, man, that's amazing. Only to meet the next person at this event I was at, where these people award homes. They award homes to veterans that are disabled. Imagine that. You get a disabled veteran and they get him a house. It's called Helping a Hero. helpingahero.org is their website. I met a great guy, Jacob Way. They were fantastic. And go check them out because they really, really have an excellent, excellent mission. But Donaldus Magnus, El Trompito, the 45th president of these United States, now the 47th, he means business, right? The party is over for the Democrats. He is committed, and he said that American decline is over.
My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
What an amazing speech. I think he outdid himself with this speech. Again, I'm a fan, right? There's a ton of bias here. I like El Trompito. I love America, and I'm glad he's back in office. I'm glad he's taking charge of the situation. I'm glad he's got all the right people in place. He's got some people that are so effective, they're moving on to other things immediately, right? Like Vivek Ramaswamy ran for president, joined President Trump. Guess what? He's launching Doge with Elon Musk, and then today announces he's running for governor of Ohio. Good luck to you, Vivek. We've had him on this program. I thought he was a very interesting guy. I'd love to learn more about his campaign, and we'll follow that and bring you updates on that. But lots of moving pieces very, very quickly. Just about 8 o'clock tonight, Trump was sitting in the Oval Office. Guess what he was doing? Still signing executive orders. He's there signing executive orders. Why? Because he's been at it all day. For a second, when it looked like they had that Hollywood Squares set up at the shot that they had on television for the Capital One Arena, it had all his family, all the people, all the administration folks behind him. It was a really cool, interesting setup for an inaugural. But what really caught my eye was, for a second, he closed his eyes. For a second, he closed his eyes. He opened them up. He got back in the game, and I said, man, this guy is nonstop. He is nonstop. He's been at it all day, getting sworn in, going to the congressional lunch, then going here. And I'm only saying this because I'm 46 years old, and I've gone to one big party every night, and yesterday we did a couple. I went to a couple of different parties, and I'm exhausted. I got to tell you, right? This stuff wears you out, all the schmoozing and talking to people, and I get very tempted very quickly. They give me an hors d'oeuvre. It's hard to say no. I take it. Sometimes I even take a second one. I know you don't believe me, but I do. And this is, to me, one of those things where I think, man, this is something. This guy is a machine. Salute to you, President Trump. And it was great for me to hear him say, it's Liberation Day. And we're going to talk about that Liberation Day right now, straight ahead, plus your calls, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
Liberation Day it is. We are being liberated from the deep state. We're being liberated from the overtaxation that we've had. We're being liberated from the heavy hand of government. We are being liberated from the Biden administration, being liberated from little girls being forced to play with little boys in certain sports. We have been liberated today, and I'm grateful for it. Welcome back, America. Rich Valdez keeping you company. Honestly, not all the way till 1 a.m. tonight, because I do have to take a little dip a little bit early tonight because I was invited to a special event and I did not want to say no to President Trump's team. So I will be at that event tonight. And someone special is going to be joining us in a little bit. But before I get into that, I want to talk about this liberation, because I think Liberation Day is important. I saw somebody earlier today, they were putting it on their social media, and they said, today's Liberation Day, 1/20/25, Liberation Day. And they're going to celebrate this day forever as Liberation Day. And it will, I believe, be a day that lives in history, because today, other than the second election of Grover Cleveland, this is historic, right? We haven't had this but for one other president that's ever done this. And I think it's an important time in cultural history. I wasn't around in the times of Grover Cleveland, but I'm around in the times of today. And the things that I'm hearing, yesterday I was at, where was that place? It was called the Capitol Hill Club. And I had a lunch, and a mom was telling me, she works in preschool, telling me that a parent told her, hey, my child identifies as a robot, and he's changed his name to another name in the same gender, but we don't want to impose any gender on our child until they're old enough to choose what gender they want to be. And I thought to myself, what world do we live in where we allow a parent to do that to their child? Now, I understand. You're thinking, come on, those are your kids. Nobody's going to tell you how to raise your kids, what you could do, what you can't do. I get that. But I also think it's incumbent upon each and every one of us as citizens of the United States to make sure that we look out for the next generation and we protect children. And there has to be a line somewhere where we say, look, you have a right to privacy. You have a right to be autonomous. You have a right to raise your kid with whatever faith you like and teach him what you like. But you can't teach him that he's a robot, right? You can't teach your kids to kill people. That'd be wrong too. I think you'd get behind that. Now, I'm not making the comparison that letting your kid believe they're a robot is tantamount to killing someone. But I am saying crazy is crazy, and we need to stop the crazy. And that's why I think Americans of all stripes, all colors, all creeds stepped up and elected Donaldus Magnus El Trompito. Now, I want to slow it down a second because, you know, we're in D.C. A big shout out to our affiliate in Washington, WMAL, for their hospitality, hosting me while I'm here. And I want to say, I've met so many good people. We're going to so many different events. I bumped into some people. I'm here with some of my Republican friends from New Jersey. And one of those Republican friends is in the New Jersey State Legislature. And he's on deck. And I saw him at the America First Policy Institute's inaugural ball. And I said, man, you know, we had a great conversation there. And I said, you got to come on the show and tell us a little bit about what your experience in D.C. is like. Overall, what this inauguration experience has been. Assemblyman Robert Auth, welcome back to the show.
Good evening, Rich. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
It was great seeing you at the American First Policy Institute. That's Trump's think tank. And there were so many luminaries there, so many bright people, not looking to overshadow each other, but to share common goals, share insight with each other. It was an absolutely fantastic event. It was great to see you there. You know, you have a lot of fans there. People were trying to get online and get a picture with it and everything else. I thought it was pretty exciting. And I thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me and then allowing me to speak with you tonight. And
my pleasure. It was similar, right? I had to break through people. I saw you talking to Congressman Byron Donaldson, and I didn't want to barge in on the party, but I said, you know what? Let me go in here and say hello to my friend Robert Auth, and I'm glad that I did. And it was nice to see Congressman Donalds as well. Shout out to him. He's been terrific. Now, Assemblyman, what's the vibe been like while you've been here on the ground?
Oh, it's ebullient. What can I say? There hasn't been a negative thing transmuted amongst people since I've been here. One or two people out there protesting about this, that, or the other thing, but in every store that we go into, every cashier we speak to, every person in a restaurant, every server in a restaurant, even room service. I mean, the people are absolutely delightful, warm. Everybody seems to be totally delighted with what is transpiring, the transition that's taking place in our government, and the fact that so many people have come to Washington, D.C., despite the cold, despite waiting on lines to get into an arena that could only hold 20,000. People were waiting outside just to be part of this excitement, of this new day in America. And I'm just so delighted to be here. I'm delighted that I've been invited to a few parties around town and get to see some of my friends in D.C. and some of my representatives in D.C. and other representatives throughout the country that we're just totally proud of. And we are looking forward to seeing them help our president enact his agenda now and take America forward.
You know, speaking of that, Assemblyman, one of the things that the president's agenda called for was doing things quickly and effectively and efficiently. And to me, it's no surprise, but it's refreshingly causing me to be more optimistic. The fact that Marco Rubio was confirmed by the Senate today, 99-0, fantastic bit of news there. And again, not surprising, but man, exciting.
Well, isn't that outstanding? He's a fabulous person for the Secretary of State. And hey, look, he may have had a little step up on everybody else. He was from the Senate, so of course they're going to be inclined to be looking forward to working with someone who comes from there. But I just think that President Trump is absolutely correct, and I think the Senate and Senate President Thune now should be looking forward to do the same thing for all of the other appointments for President Trump, because these 100 days are the critical time for him. He's got an agenda that he wants to put in place. He's outlined it today in his speech very succinctly. He just said, here's what we need to do. And now he has the ball. He has to be able to run with it. He needs the team to get behind him and push them through. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. I really don't want to see any rancor amongst the members of the Senate, amongst the members of the Congress when it comes to tax cuts, maintaining the tax cuts. It all should be in one big bill, omnibus bill, and just get it done and give the president what he needs to make it America.
Well, I think there's
great
a
again.
lot of members that are against the omnibus bill. They want to go bill by bill and line by line so that they're not jamming everything in there. But either way, I think I agree in the sense that they're going to make sure he gets what he needs to get this done.
Taxes first. That's one of the most important things.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they'll get lost.
Yeah, I agree with that, too. I think we've got to do that, and he's got to continue to enact everything he's doing at the border. And it looks like they're already kicking butt and taking names at the border.
St. Thomas Holman.
Tom Homan. Shout out to Tom Homan. Now, Assemblyman, I want you to let everybody know, how do they keep up with the work that you're doing in New Jersey? How do they find you?
Oh, well, you know, I run social media. You can always go to ASM Auth, A-U-T-H, Assemblyman Robert Auth. We have a website, too, Bob Author Assembly. And you can come to any of those places, find out what my positions are, and ask me any questions if you need constituent help, even if you're not from New Jersey. If you're a business that wants to come to New Jersey, we are there to roll out the red carpet for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Assemblyman. I appreciate you coming, and I know you've got somewhere to go. And actually, folks, I actually have somewhere to go tonight as well. And I don't mean to leave anybody hanging, but listen to this. That's Dom Giordano banging down the door to the studio. He wants to come in. He thinks it's Dom time right now. And guess what? I'm going to let him in, folks. I'm going to leave you with Dom Giordano for the rest of the night. Forgive me for cutting out early, but President Trump invited me to a party, and I didn't want to say no. God bless you, America. I'll be back tomorrow. Keep it locked right here for my man, Dom Giordano, coming up right now.
Is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Hey everyone, welcome in. Thrilled to be in, as Rich just said. Yeah, I was knocking on that door. Rich at a big Trump media event, Team Trump media event. Dom Giordano from Talk Radio 1210. Glad to be back in for Rich on America at Night. And we kick it off with Bill O'Reilly, who has had a lot of conversations about President Trump and the second term. Let's bring back to the show Bill O'Reilly. Hey, Bill, welcome in on a truly historic day. And you are the most popular historian, pundit, commentator in history. So it makes great sense to have O'Reilly tonight.
Well, I appreciate it, Dom. Thanks for the kind words. What do you want to know?
Well, overall impressions of today. Then I have several things that have broken specifically here, Bill, to see what you're thinking. Overall, the tone and the things that Trump laid out in the speech, first of all, after the swear-in.
No surprises. It was a MAGA play. It was unique in history. Never before has an incoming president humiliated an outgoing president the way that Trump did to Biden. And when I was watching it, I went, all right, one or two shots we understand, but the whole speech, other than the reminiscence of Butler, Pennsylvania, was how Biden screwed up the country. And Biden's sitting 6 feet away from him. That was stunning. And it's a story I think most of these pundits missed, but I was very surprised. Now, I know why he did it, but the reaction from the media has been muted about this, but it has never happened before, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I saw a cut of you with Piers Morgan making that point. So why did he do it? Was it not just a play on Biden, but the whole Bush, Clintons, Obama there too, or just specifically Biden?
No, it was a vengeance play.
Okay.
So Donald Trump believes, and I know this to be true, that Biden was behind the Jack Smith, Mar-a-Lago raid, all of that. He believes that Biden was actively working with Merrick Garland to destroy not only him, but his family. That's what Donald Trump believes. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because I don't know how cognizant Biden was in the White House on a daily basis. It's possible that Biden's advisors drove that rather than the man himself. I will find out. But it doesn't really matter, because that's what Trump believes. Now, when your family is attacked, and mine has been, it is very hard to forgive people doing the attacking. You always remember that. And I think that's what drove Trump today.
Now, you've made the point on my show, and it's something, Bill, on almost daily basis, I remind people of what we have going on here, and that is President Trump talking about you. You went down to Florida, too, sort of a meeting with his advisors, that he wants to be one of the greatest presidents. How do I get on Mount Rushmore, figuratively? That, to me, is big stuff. You also said, but he's emotional. Now, I take your point, though. I think this is one where it's understandable what you and I we would do in that situation, in that belief, despite the dignity of the office. Do you see it that way? And do you think we're going to see Trump trying to stay on track and not be emotionally driven, and he will drill down on actually getting even more done this time around?
Well, he can do both.
Okay.
So that's what I expect will happen. But when I talk to Donald Trump, I mean, I'm in and I'm out. When I criticize him, he doesn't like me, and then he comes back because he's known me 35 years, and he knows I'm not going to tell him what he wants to hear, which is what he gets from pretty much everybody else, with all due respect. I mean, they tell him what he wants to hear. I basically, if he asks me a question, I give him an honest answer. Now, I understand perfectly that he wants to solidify his base and please the people that supported him, which is why he did the pardons, the J6 pardons, which is going to cause him some grief. But he says, look, I don't care. I don't have to run again. And this isn't going to intrude on China or Ukraine or inflation or the border. I'm just doing these people a favor. So that's how he looks at it, very transactional. And right now he's rewarding the MAGA base.
Your thoughts on that, because I have a lot of questions. I think there are a number of people who, by happenstance, went in, they've done their time, etc. But some of these people actually were involved in attacking police or masterminding something going on there. And commuting, some of them were pardoning. Now, there are 6 that are commuted, not pardoned. I think they're some of the big offenders.
I have to look at it. There's one that I've already given to my investigators. The Proud Boys leader.
Yes.
He got, I think he got a pardon. But I have to look at it. But what I would recommend to President Trump is that he explain it. The big ones. Now, you're right in the fact that a lot of these people got caught up in this. No excuse. But they didn't go in with vengeance and violence on their minds. They just followed the herd. And those people, I think, deserve some consideration. But if you went in with a weapon and you assaulted a police officer, I don't believe you deserve consideration. And so, therefore, I'd like President Trump, if he does invoke leniency to those people, to explain it.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, Bill, Laken Riley passed the Senate pretty overwhelmingly today. Thune sending a message that he's on board getting things done, and that means that act will be passed. It's a lot of Democrats who have bought into this, and any number of them are not necessarily in border states. Warnock in Georgia, I realize it's Georgia, that's where Laken Riley's from, but Warnock, to me, is more of a socialist or beyond that even.
But it's survival for these people now. Mm-hmm. That's why they did it. I hate to be cynical, but a guy like Warnock, he doesn't care about Laken Riley. I'm sorry, he doesn't. Because he's voted against every measure that would protect not only the late Ms. Riley, but all Americans. And tomorrow on the No Spin News, I'm going to analyze the ones that wouldn't vote for the Laken Riley bill, which is obviously needed. You can't have local jurisdictions protecting criminals from the federal government. You just can't. That's anarchy. Yet, I think with 62 Democrats said, no, we're okay with it. All right, I'm putting their faces up on the screen. Is this what you want? And some cases, yeah, that's what they want. And what are you going to do? But in the case of Warnock in Georgia, he did it for political survival, in my opinion.
No, without a doubt. Now, Bill, why we have you here, too, your current book, Confronting the Presidents, No Spin Assessments from Washington to Biden, been referencing this because it's amazing how much maybe people listening, I think I know about history, and I tell you all the time I find wrinkles in here that are amazing. And we were talking about all people. William Henry Harrison may not have been killed by the long inauguration, getting the cold, being out in the cold, and all the rest of it. A lot of these guys that you write about, the water at that time in the Potomac and in Washington, brutal. How many of these guys it immobilized or took out?
Yeah, I mean, look, the medicine was primitive, so was plumbing. They were drinking from a water supply at the White House that was contaminated. Harrison was frail anyway and stays out in the freezing cold for 90 minutes, and he's dead. I mean, that's it. Goodbye. And then one of the worst presidents of all time, John Tyler, takes over. Tyler's actually a traitor. So history to me, Dom, and I think you concur, is so fascinating because it always comes back. Let me make one more point about the Inauguration Day today. You know what this was a replica of today?
No. Andrew Jackson. Oh, Kennedy. Okay.
John F. Kennedy. So the wording was almost exactly the same. Kennedy just defeats Nixon, but his followers are so adamant, so emotionally involved that Camelot is here, a new day is here. You hear the same exact wordage from the MAGA people. A golden age of America is here. And the reason is both Kennedy and Trump, charismatic people who can get you emotionally involved with their sagas. And when I was watching the inauguration today and the crowds and how they were reacting, I went, if you look at the videos of JFK, it's identical. And that's why history to me is so fascinating, because we repeat it. And there, William McKinley's got the mountain named after him again. Who knew, right?
So how many Trump books, for listeners look forward to the annual pilgrimage to Bill O'Reilly's books? How many Trump books are going through your mind tonight? You got to have a few more.
Yeah, the publisher's on me, but I'm not going to do anything until I see how this unfolds. You know, Donald Trump has got a pathway to success. He can build this country back into a powerhouse. He can right a lot of wrongs, but he can also blow up. So I got to wait on this one. But I have more access to the president, I think, than anybody else in the country at this point. I know what he does and why he does it, which is a tremendous advantage for a historian journalist.
Without a doubt, BillO'Reilly.com. Bill, as always, thank you. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Anytime, Dom. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Bill O'Reilly here on the Rich Valdez Show, America at Night. We'll get your phone calls next. How are you feeling today on all the breaking news? I'm trying to even keep up with it, shuffling my papers here. 833-482-5337 or 833, 4, Valdez. Dom Giordano sitting in on America at Night.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
You can do that, and it's Dom with an M. How many times I get Don? I listened to you for 20 years. It's Dom with an M. I need her to voice that. Dom Giordano from Philadelphia. You heard Bill O'Reilly, who I agree, I think is the pipeline to Trump's thought pattern, second to none. Let's start to take some callers. How do you feel today? What's the thing that pops? The forgiveness was much more generous of the January 6 people as far as the numbers, at least as I see them. 6 commuted, about 1,500 thereabouts, pardoned. And the devil's in the details, those 6 that were commuted. What were their alleged crimes here? Let's go to Eduardo, Tampa, Florida, jumping on board the Rich Valdez Show, America at Night. Eduardo, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Don. Yeah, a couple of them that stand out to me are the Paris Accords and the fact that federal workers have to go back to work into the office. I would add a third one, kicking the UN out of New York. I would add that on there.
Oh, yeah, that's what you'd like to do. Yeah, we've talked about this for years, the mayhem, the stuff that they cause in New York. I've seen in some years, because of diplomatic immunity, it's amazing the blotter of crimes. But big picture, anything that he said today that resonated with you the most?
Oh, I think the fact that he's definitely looking out for the Americans more, because with the Democrats, they would be looking out for the foreigners. So America first.
That's when he said it, put simply, it is America first. Thanks, Eduardo. Yeah, that's the secret sauce. That's the thing that we take a look at here. Laken Riley passing, though, Thune on the job, getting the Senate moving on Inauguration Day. And I differ a little bit with O'Reilly. It did pass with bipartisan support, pretty significant with the number of Democrats that supported it. Now, Warnock and the other guy from Georgia, you could say they have to vote for it. My God, what happened there in Georgia with Laken Riley. But still, I would add, it's a big breakthrough. I thought Democrats would fight this even more. And it's pretty simple. You commit a crime, you're here illegally, we're going to hold you and react with the federal government and possible deportation. That's the whole thing that would have had Laken Riley alive today. But you have to understand, Democrats, usually on this, in my area, in the Philadelphia area, suburban Philadelphia, not Philadelphia, suburban Philadelphia, 3 Democrat women voted against this, puttering on about constitutional stuff and all. And yet some Democrat representatives in the city of Philadelphia, which, as you know, is very progressive, they voted for the Laken Riley bill. So the Democrats that are still stonewalling on this, those that still voted against it today, must think they're awfully safe. But what you're seeing, slowly but surely here, this bill passed. I thought it would be an horrific fight. There were no amending to it. Democrats didn't get anything that they wanted on this. All right, jump on board. Dom Giordano sitting in for Rich on America at Night.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. This is America. This is Night. This is Rich Valdez.
All right, Dom Giordano from Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia sitting in for Rich. One thing that kind of got underplayed but got a lot of applause today, President Trump checking all boxes. This is cut 9. Here's President Trump saying those who did not get vaccinated, military, dismissed during COVID, they will be reinstated. Here's what he said.
This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be freed to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies.
All right, there was a lot of that today, definitive. A lot of it is already in motion. The one thing not in motion, and we'll probe it a little bit later on here on the Rich Valdez Show, is we did not see shock and awe with deportation, moving in, illegal aliens that are criminals here, and the like. There was talk that Tom Homan thinks that Chicago was too alerted to this, maybe at some other point. I was kind of surprised. I thought that was the whole idea. So we'll talk with somebody about what's happening with that. On day one, a lot was done, but that is one of the biggest issues that President Trump ran on. And I thought we were going to see, in Chicago at least, people poised to move in on that and show results at the end of day one. Now, it could be it'll take a couple days until things relax. And it's more opportune then to go in and do that with less muss, less fuss, and less difficulty. But that is a curious one, a watch and see here. You heard Bill O'Reilly, though. You heard that conduit to President Trump. And I think it's accurate. Trump wants to have a golden age, wants to be among our greatest presidents. This is a heck of a start. You're listening to Dom Giordano sitting in for Rich Valdez on America at Night on Westwood One.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Rich tonight. You have the phone numbers. Let me give them to you one more time. Your reaction to today, 833-482-5337 or 833, the number 4 Valdez. Rich tonight is at a media party invite from the Trump team, so that's always a good opportunity to do that. I'm happy to sit in here. A couple things caught my attention. I've been where I am in Philadelphia. I broadcast a lot from South Jersey, the Jersey Shore. Reuters reporting tonight that about 35 minutes ago, President Trump suspended new federal offshore wind leasing pending an environmental and economic review, saying windmills are ugly, expensive, and harm wildlife, they say, without providing evidence of the death of whales. Yeah, right, Reuters. There must be inexpensive forms of energy that you can have by far, and they kill your birds and they ruin your beautiful landscape. So White House press release, Trump issued this executive action suspending offshore wind leasing from all areas of the U.S. outer continental shelf pending an environmental and economic review. Think Orsted, if you've heard that name. Jeff Van Drew, congressman from South Jersey, has been a driving force. He's a big Trump insider. And what this does is it shuts down environmental radicalism off the Jersey Shore, in which many, many more whales, dolphins have died, in which costs are going to be astronomical. And if you're a fan, wherever you are in America, of just what is your birthright, a place you go that is just beautiful scenery. For us in Philadelphia and hundreds of miles around, it is the Jersey Shore, and it extends quite a distance north from where I am, but it's a big deal. And what they've done is they've kind of shoved this through because of Phil Murphy and the Biden administration and any number of environmental groups, allegedly environmental, that are in the tank as far as not wanting to challenge big wind. And we're talking big, big money. And the size of these windmills and the potential destruction of not just wildlife, whales. So Save the Whales used to be people on the left. They've rejected that now because of so-called environmentalism. And instead, it's President Trump that rode in with this today. And I think after the 6-month review, what you're going to see happening is this is going to be stopped. It's been a bitter battle, a huge battle. Not sure how much of the country knows about it. And it's more than just Jersey. It extends pretty far south and pretty far north up to Boston area. Think that. All right. We'd love to get you on board. That's just in the last half hour or so. Now, we have a little sound from the Oval Office. President Trump, I think surprisingly, and Bill O'Reilly was on with me earlier tonight breaking this down, issued more pardons than I thought with January 6th. It's in the neighborhood of 1,500, and 6 were commuted. And there's been a pitched battle between anti-Trump protesters and people supportive. I'm not sure, as we speak tonight here on the East Coast, if any of the January 6th defendants have been released from jail yet. They're in different jails all over the place, but it's happening tonight. It's being processed as we speak. Here's a little bit of what President Trump said, or what the White House said, about this executive order.
First, we have a list of pardons and commutations relating to events that occurred on January 6, 2021.
Okay, and how many people is this?
I think this order will apply to approximately 1,500 people, sir.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon.
Yes.
Full pardon.
Full pardon or commutation?
Full pardon. We have about 6 commutations in there. where we're doing further research.
Okay.
Nice to see you again. So this is a big one. Anything you want to explain about this? We hope they get them. We hope they come out tonight. Frankly, we're expecting it. Approximately 1,500 people. Six commutations.
All right, so that's the number. That's what we talked about. A little bit higher than I thought they were edging us onto. J.D. Vance making comments recently that led us to believe that people that were involved with violence, and that's a term of art here in some instances, they would not be pardoned. I'm not sure if that's the 6 that were commuted. Now, a fair look at this. Any number of people were put into a situation where they entered the Capitol, which is illegal. They followed the herd. And then there were another tier of people that engaged in something while they were in there. Then there were a number of those that fought with the police. And sorting out all those cases is a lot. But this is a bit more than we thought would happen based upon indications from the Trump team prior to this. And Bill O'Reilly on with me said, well, what Trump should do is explain this tomorrow, meaning on Tuesday, in more detail, or some document put out that explains why this number. Now, to people who believe that the overcharging in this instance, and that some should not have been put into federal prison at all, this is certainly something that they're supportive of. But by and large, the argument will be, well, how do you support police? I haven't seen yet. I've seen some of the relatives of the police involved, the Capitol Police, make the argument that this is degrading to them. I haven't seen police organizations saying anything. Now, this is just breaking in the last hour or so, some of these executive orders that are still ongoing. And it will be interesting to see how it plays out. The one I'm really interested in is the TikTok situation. Now, President Trump, and I'll give you more detail on this, in the past is someone that did call for a ban of TikTok as a Chinese company. He's turned a bit on that, and you could argue that having a period now, since we've gotten to the deadline, of allowing to see if an American company is going to take this over is wise. I'm in the camp that thinks that this is a huge threat to our data, to our kids even, and yet there are a lot of small businesses. We may have people listening tonight and others. Last night during the Lakers game, they actually put on the scoreboard, TikTok is back on. TikTok is still actionable. So this is a very pleasing thing, potentially, but it's also something that we have a federal law on now. And this is going to create quite a showdown. All right, here's how you get in with Dom Giordano. 833-482-5337. 833, the number 4, Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, it's Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Rich Valdez tonight. And as I said, it's keeping your scorecard here on all these executive orders, all the news made by President Trump today. It's mind-numbing. And the big two we're centering on here is TikTok. I'll play you a little bit of what President Trump said recently about TikTok. I'm in the camp that thinks, hey, we have the law here. It's true. There's a little bit of wiggle room potentially to actually have an American business get in there. But the Communist Chinese Party being involved, I don't see how an American Chinese Communist Party operation, but it is wildly popular. There is no doubt about that. But again, I think the case was made quite a while ago how detrimental it is. Have you changed on that? And for what reason? Now, this is a youth play, and Trump did very well in the last election cycle by going on all those shows, various podcasts that really helped him, not just Joe Rogan, but a bunch of others that are not as well known. Let's go to Paul in Boise, Iowa. Paul, welcome to the Rich Valdez Show.
Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Actually, Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. People
Okay.
make that mistake all the time.
That's okay, Paul.
Iowa.
All right. What's on your mind, Paul?
I think it's a great day for Republicans and Democrats alike, but one's in denial and thinks it's the end, and I think one is exuberant and knows that it's just the very beginning of the great nation that we're going to become once again. And,
absolutely. What do you think of some of the things we've been talking about the last couple of executive orders?
I think they're going to go under fire from the best attorneys available to the Democrats, and they're not going to lay down and just let them happen. And so we have to be patient and know that our commander in chief and our president is making the right moves.
All righty, Paul. Yeah. Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you. Good to talk with you tonight from Boise, Idaho. I'm surprised again, and we'll see if President Trump clarifies, because I'm in the camp that says, yeah, any number of these people, January 6th, it was a minor matter. Any number of others, it was overcharging. They turned things that were misdemeanors into felonies, and the sentencing was wildly out of whack. But there are some who should not have been pardoned and or commuted. 6 are hanging out there at this point. We'll see more details on this. All this is fluid as it's happening. A lot of criticism on that one. On TikTok, it's an issue to me that I think has been resolved. And the way to resolve it is American company can run TikTok. There's another spinoff, Red Note, from Mao's Little Red Book. It's not just the stealing of data with the Communist Chinese Party. It's the TikTok in China is uplifting, and the TikTok here is detrimental. But there are a lot of constituencies. You have Youth Vote, you have a lot of small businesses and others. It's very appealing, the manner in which this is being done. It's extremely valuable. And that's where we are tonight. This is in a holding pattern. But the J6 situation is the other one where I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth tomorrow. As far as the Remain in Mexico policy, the border, that's already put into play. Yet, we haven't seen Tom Homan of ICE or the whole border operation move in on day one as we were told. I'm kind of surprised at that. And we're going to talk with a special guest from the Heritage Foundation coming up here on America at Night to find out what she thinks is the reason they haven't acted yet, and will they act? And again, people are going to give Trump some grace because this day has been huge as far as the day in which we've ended what we've gone through for the last 4 years, the obvious decline up and down the line, the obvious difficulty, the censorship that Trump talked about today, the decline in our pocketbooks with inflation that was completely unnecessary, the decline around the world as far as America able to exert power correctly in various situations, all that he laid out today. Bill O'Reilly saying he knew for a fact that Trump faced down with Biden because he felt Biden, or at least the people around Biden, orchestrated an all-out attack on Trump, not only Trump, but Trump's family in these situations. And when that happens to you, well, then when you have a chance to confront the individual publicly, it was kind of unparalleled. Usually presidents talk in some grand vision. Today, Trump did two things. He talked about the decline directly with Biden just feet away, and he also talked about kind of a laundry list of the executive orders and the necessity for them and how he would be issuing them around the clock. So it was much different than the first Trump speech talking about carnage in the country in 2016. The resistance out there has been pretty muted so far. It's still there. And Laken Riley passed in the Senate. That means it will become law now as soon as they marry it up with the House. That's a big deal. I know it's a relatively simple thing. What do you mean, Dom, a big deal? It seems to be a simple thing. But the number of Democrats that have signed off, that is a good situation. Here's how you get in, though. 833-482-5337. We'll talk with an expert that's been on Rich's show before from the Heritage Foundation. Again, about when do we see or what do we see the shape of actually enforcing. I mean, today was Secure the Border Day, but internally, the number of people that we have here that the country voted to remove. Deportations this time around had a clear majority in the high 50s, maybe 60%, that said, yes, we want to see massive deportations as described by start with those who are criminal, those that have already been adjudicated. We're in the 1.5 million range that they must leave the country. We're not just going after anybody here. Then there might be more examples made in the workplace, things of that nature. America voted for this. It's only day one, true, but when will this happen? What is the holdup? What could be stopping home in here? We thought Chicago and New York, obviously, were going to be the centerpiece of this. And by the time I came on tonight, I was prepared to tell you about various stories of people that would shock you that have still remained in this country despite past crimes, despite the possibility of all kinds of difficulty that they might create. So we'll have all that for you momentarily. We'll talk that and take your calls. Dom Giordano, Rich enjoying himself tonight, a big media party for Trump. I'm from Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia, sitting in for Rich on America at Night on Westwood One.
Opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
All right, that is the cornerstone. Dom Giordano, Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia, sitting in tonight for Rich. But we didn't see shock and awe today. We didn't see moving in Chicago, at least that I'm spotting here with Tom Homan. What might be holding that up? All right, joining us is Lora Ries. Lora is the director of the Border Security and Immigration Center at the Heritage Foundation, former acting deputy chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security. Lora, welcome back to the Rich Valdez Show. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dom.
Well, today, all the right moves made with these executive orders, and feel free in the course of talking with me if you want to go back to any point that you saw here. Kind of surprised, but we started to get rumblings of this maybe late last night with the Homan operation. We didn't see any movement on today. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, apparently there was a leak about plans to move into Chicago. And so on the media today, Tom said that operations would begin tomorrow. He did not, of course, say where that would be.
All right, so you think it's just a momentary because, again, I thought he was saying these things himself, and there were maybe media leaks. You're talking about specific things which would put everybody at risk.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, he noted that due to the leaks, it does put the agents at risk in what is already can be a risky operation, particularly when you're dealing with sanctuary jurisdictions in which their political leaders refuse to share information with ICE or federal agents or cooperate with them.
So, Lora, you share the figures that we hear routinely about the number of people that are here that are either have criminal backgrounds and or have been issued an order to deport, that they've just gone underground and just haven't done it. That there are over 1 million of these people, one way or the other.
Yes, that's right. There's over 1 million aliens who went through the due process before an immigration judge, have a final order of removal, but absconded and have not left. So that population is among the priorities for the Trump administration, to find illegal aliens and remove them, along with national security threats, serious, dangerous criminals, gang members, and these absconders as well.
Take us through what are some of the difficulties with doing this. We talked about the physical risk, but I think the Trump administration, too, is wary of the media ready to pounce if there's a mistaken identity or if there is something where there's a child involved. Even though it's legitimate legally, it's protecting people. Give us your thoughts. I mean, you have expertise in this. What are they afraid of, possibly?
Well, it's far easier and safer for agents to go into a jail where criminal aliens are being detained, right, and to take custody of them and then remove them. But again, with sanctuary jurisdiction policies, such criminal aliens are released from state and local jails back into the communities, which means the agent has to go into the community, go to the house or apartment where they have information of this alien is residing. They don't know who all is going to be present. They don't know if the alien is armed. And so it creates a lesser-known situational awareness. And it also means that other aliens who are present, if they aren't here lawfully, they too are going to be taken into custody and removed. And so the left always talks about protecting immigrant communities and immigrants, but the opposite is actually true.
Yeah, and again, the numbers you and I are talking about are staggering. Some of these, as you said, might be layups that they're in jail for some reason. It hasn't been acted on. But these others, the difficulty in tracing them, penetrating this in a way that's more surgical, where there's not going to be physical violence, that's an awful lot of people. So that's going to be a big task. I'm talking years potentially, would you think, just to operate around those parameters?
Yes, this is going to take a long time because at least 11 million have come in illegally under Biden just the past 4 years. And who knows what sort of information or lack of data the Trump administration is going to find when they get into the databases of ICE and CBP and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. And meanwhile, Congress needs to step up here and give ICE significant increases in resources, which Congress is not used to doing. They tend to default and will give Border Patrol more agents or CBP more technology, but they just don't have the wherewithal or the practice of giving ICE significantly more resources, and that is what is so needed to carry out this interior enforcement.
That is a great insight. And my observation with this, if you're not going to enforce the border, you can put all the border agents you want up there, please the Border Patrol. Maybe they'll say something positive. Meanwhile, people that have already made it through and continue to make it through, the only safeguard to stop this is ICE, and they don't want to stop it, so we're not going to fund ICE.
Yeah, and we're going to see that from the left in Congress, where they are going to try to prevent giving those needed additional resources to ICE. The left abhors immigration detention, and obviously they oppose removal. And so they're going to do everything they can to oppose that. And yet that contradicts directly what the American public just voted for in November. Trump talked about campaigned. His number one policy was mass deportations. That's what Americans want and need because so many criminal aliens and security threats and traffickers and now hundreds of thousands of missing children are in their communities. And we cannot sustain this either at the community level or as a country.
Lora Ries with us from the Heritage Foundation. And Lora, the thing that jumped out at me today, and I'm not going to dismiss it, it's easy because of how difficult this is, the number of Democrats in the Senate that passed Laken Riley. I realize why in the world would the others, we know the answer, not do it. But that's real progress now that this will become law.
Yes, and it's an interesting bill. I mean, obviously the name gives it momentum because of the horrific murder of Laken Riley. But in one aspect, the bill is quite narrow. It just says you have to detain or put a detainer on an illegal alien who commits theft. The bigger part of the bill is about giving states' attorneys general the ability to sue the federal government if it's not doing its immigration job, like detaining, removing, applying visa sanctions, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a different bill, but what cannot happen is to allow the left, which they will attempt to do, say, we don't need to pass more immigration legislation. We already passed the Laken Riley Act. We're done.
Well, let's play with that. Yeah, you raise an interesting point. So you're more wary of that. I mean, I'm not being overly optimistic, but given what we've seen, well, where I am in the Philadelphia area, Lora, we have 3 women congresswomen who all voted in Philadelphia suburbs. This is voted against Laken Riley. Even this iteration that I agree with you is kind of minimal. They still voted against it in this climate, and these are the suburbs, not the inner city.
Yeah, I think the left, again, they opposed it because it involves detention, mandatory detention, and they just simply disagree with that. And they know that detention leads to deportation, and we know they oppose that. But also they don't want the states getting more involved in making sure that our immigration laws are enforced.
I hear your headline there, and I think that's you've got me just in this brief conversation. Emphasize that on my own show tomorrow. The power that attorneys general would have in these states is enhanced, and that's always been the difficulty. They say it's a federal law, and then they don't want to enforce it, and the states can do nothing. That is the hidden power of this, rather than the detention. Lora, thank you. Thanks for coming on the Rich Valdez Show tonight.
Well, thanks for having me on, Don.
All right, there is Lora Ries, I think, making a great point that it's more not just about the headline, which is the detention, picking people up, etc., but the attorneys general, and you heard what she said, the tactic they'll use is, well, we already passed Laken Riley. But I'm telling you, too, this shows progress here. This would not have happened a couple of months ago before the election. You never would have gotten them to do this. They caved on this a bit. Now it has to be built on. Trump also mentioned MS-13 today in an executive order, apparently around gangs. Also, the drug cartels are foreign terrorist group now is the official policy of the American government. That means they can be attacked in Mexico. All right, here's how you get in. Jump on board. Big day. A lot still breaking. 833-482-5337. 833, the number 4, Valdez. Dom Giordano sitting in for Rich on America at Night.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Can you imagine how awesome it will be to have American astronauts plant the flag on another planet for the first time? Yeah!
All right, that's Elon Musk today. Just another little outtake of the stuff that's going on. The energy is palpable, what's going on in Washington, even at this time on the East Coast as we speak here on the Rich Valdez Show with Dom Giordano pinch hitting. 833, the number 4, Valdez, is how you get in. We'd love to hear from you, your reaction to this. And the breaking news really more so after all the ceremonial stuff of the pardons of most of the J6 defendants, 6 commuted, the TikTok stuff, and what we just talked about. That was great stuff from Lora Ries at the Heritage Foundation, talking about the passing of Laken Riley and what will the strategy be of those on the left at this point. And again, I'm going to accentuate the positive here. This would not have happened a while ago. And I know you're saying, how could anyone, after Laken Riley, not want these people held legitimately? Well, they're not. It's not figuring out. It's just beating them. It's just passing laws, winning elections, beating the left. You cannot figure this stuff out. It is anathema. She would be alive today. Lora also said America favors mass deportations. I would agree with that. On paper, the polling indicates that. But when it starts, if it's messy, that's what the Trump people are afraid of. And she believes that Tom Homan will act tomorrow around this whole deal here, that you'll actually see some action today. Maybe a different spot. I hope it's Denver. The mayor there seems like he wants to even interfere. Let's go to Lewis in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Lewis, welcome to the Rich Valdez Show. Hi.
Thank you, Rich. I'm still glad that Trump beat the Biden monster. This creature did his best to destroy this country for 4 years, and thank God he did not get another 4 years.
Well, true. I did a remote broadcast with about 400 people today, and they echo, Lewis. They felt a sense of we passed the worst, and today was a very liberating day. Thank you, Lewis. I don't know how much at a certain point, though. I do know. I put it on the line that Biden actually was the architect of this, as much as advisors and maybe Dr. Jill Biden that seized more power, and they continue to prop him up because they had no lanes in the White House. They were making policy. Do we sincerely believe that Biden, on the details on just about anything imaginable? By the way, Trump gave him Air Force One, apparently to go to California on another vacation. My God, is there no shame after Biden at the 11th hour at 11:55. Pardon any Biden that's ever lived or will ever live. By the way, Trump rescinded the security clearance of, I believe, 51 people who signed off saying, nah, there's nothing on that Hunter Biden laptop, nothing to worry about. And that was the right move, even though some of them don't have much access. Get them out of there. All right, final calls of this hour coming up. 833, the number 4, Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Dom Giordano sitting in for Rich tonight, America at Night. And boy, it's a big day for America. Great stuff from the person we had on, Lora Ries from the Heritage Foundation. Let's go to Chris in Traverse City, Michigan. Hey, Chris, welcome to the Rich Valdez Show. Hi.
Well, good evening to you and your listeners.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Well, I guess I started off as I'm not I worked in South and Central America from Panama on down for 10 years.
Okay.
And all my observation is whenever I crossed the border, I had to show my passport correctly stamped.
Sure.
And you had to have papers if you didn't have a passport. I did one time get copies because I lost my passport. And but all those countries for surely protect their borders. And that's all I know, and that's all I wanted to add, is I don't understand why this good old USA can't just do the same thing. That's it.
Well, we have the capability of doing that. Trump did it with staying in Mexico City, if you remember the first time. You have enough significant number of people that don't want to do it. They don't care about the consequence. Yeah, you're right.
I agree with you, sir. I don't think they understand the repercussions, but when it comes to a neighborhood near them, they certainly will wake up and smell the coffee.
Yes. Do you remember Martha's Vineyard when DeSantis was able to send people there? Within a half hour, there was mayhem there to get them out. Thank you, Chris, very much. Thanks for the call. That's the best example I can give. And I've said many times on my own show and sometimes when I sit in for Rich, champion of the year, it's the moral thing to do and also the politically right thing to do. Governor Abbott in Texas with the buses that went to places like Denver, Chicago, and others, and you see what the result is. People there, sometimes African-American communities, don't want this. They realize how this undercuts them. Maybe they don't know America first necessarily, but they know their neighborhood. And they know this is not good for them and their neighborhood. And they voted that way. So I'm hoping that Lora is right and that tomorrow Tom Homan strikes at whatever the target is, if not Chicago, New York. I don't care where it is in America. I want this action to start as soon as possible. And I think Homan is going to do just that. My name is Dom Giordano, Talk Radio 1210 in Philadelphia. Sitting in for Rich Valdez, America at Night on Westwood One.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
All right, Rich is on special assignment tonight. He told us at the top of the show, called in by the Trump communications team, media team, at a big event there in Washington. Dom Giordano in Philadelphia. Happy to be sitting in for Rich tonight with you. And we have been just inundated with breaking news around all these executive orders and other peculiar things coming out of a fascinating day, an historic day, without a doubt. Now, one of them that I wanted to get to tonight, because on my own show in Philadelphia, you can follow me, by the way, on Twitter at DomShow1210. Happy to have you do that at DomShow1210. My own show tomorrow, we will have Dave McCormick on. Dave McCormick is the new senator. He's going to be a power in the Senate from Pennsylvania, beat Bob Casey Jr. And the last time he was on, in the middle of it, it kind of buried the lead. And he's the last guy that I thought would be engaged in this. He talked about wanting to make Pennsylvania, because of all the money, jobs, etc., one of the capitals or the capital of crypto. Now, you may have seen the Trump meme coin allegedly increased Trump's net worth by $50 billion. And then Melania dropped her coin around the presidential thing, and it was also in all kinds of billions. No word from Barron Trump yet. Are those things real? So I thought I'd throw it out there tonight. You're going to hear a lot of talk about crypto, and as I said, McCormick is a very wealthy guy, smart guy, but crypto to me seems kind of far out there, kind of risky. Kind of something that buyer beware. You really have to, it's virtual. It's, I don't even think real in my mind. And I'm wondering how many people listening to the Valdez show are invested in crypto. Watch for this in coming days. A lot of people apparently did it around President Trump. And as I mentioned, anything Trumpian at this point is incredibly hot. This was the meme coin that Trump put out. There was a crypto ball the other night. I had someone on talking about that, where Snoop Dogg performed and said he would never do that for Trump. It's a big deal. It's huge money. But it starts to seem on the edge of something that you really have to be knowledgeable about this stuff to be engaged. Here's how you get in. You can dial us up right now on all aspects of today, 833-482-5337 or 833-4 Valdez. That's the way to get on board. And we've been talking about these breaking developments, two of the biggest. The January 6th defendants, all but 6 pardoned, and those apparently commuted. I already heard my local news here in Philadelphia, people saying, the outrage, what about the officer killed that day? Now, you follow this stuff. There was no officer killed that day. It was bad enough, some of the violence. And Ashley Babbitt was the person who was shot to death. And that individual, because he's part of the J6 testimony, etc., believe it's Officer Byrd, I believe was pardoned by Biden when he pardoned Fauci, Mealy, to kick off today, and the January 6th committee and staff and everything else in the language there. That would mean Liz Cheney and the like. So we had a real showdown today on the issue of pardons. I happen to think presidential pardons are out of control. Constitutionally, how can you rein that in? That would be a protracted battle, but again, the pardons now, the preemptive pardons, like the Biden pardons, are really ridiculous. The whole family is pardoned for anything they might do, did, or 100 years into the future, it looks like. All right, so 833-4 Valdez. Bill O'Reilly on the show tonight talks with Trump quite frequently, telling me that the reason in his inauguration speech today he went bluntly toward talking about Biden, years of decline, face-to-face, saying that, pretty much unprecedented. that he feels that the Biden people, maybe not Biden, but the Biden people, went after not just Trump, but they went after his family. And that's the people that plotted it. Who are these people in the White House? We have to wait for Bob Woodward to tell us who actually, maybe the last 2 years at least, if not 3, maybe even 4, who actually has been making and running the machinery of government out of the White House. It's certainly not Joe Biden, particularly the last 2 years. Is it Jill Biden? Is she an Edith Wilson? Is it chiefs of staff? Susan Rice, some of the Obama players? But people at less than the elected levels were making decisions, making policy that is very, very specific, and it's obvious. It will come out. And this is, again, 25th Amendment is tricky territory. You don't want to have that politicized to try to take out a president, but certainly in the case of Biden, this has gone on for at least a couple of years, if not 3, if not even beginning the signs of his term. Really, his whole career, he hasn't been the brightest bulb. All right, 833, the number 4, Valdez. Crypto starting to make its way in. A lot of kind of entertaining stuff today with Trump. It always is. Signing executive orders in front of 20,000 people is a master stroke. Hasn't been done before. Usually these are done in secret. It was kind of interesting to see the reaction of people, particularly since some of them were kind of dense. They weren't directly straightforward on what you wanted to see. I'm told there'll probably be a whole lot more tomorrow, Tuesday. It could be upwards of 200 of them. But we've hit the major things, the border, and we've heard tonight from great guests from the Heritage Foundation that Homan apparently tomorrow is going to put into action these deportation plans. She agreed with me, 1.5 million people with orders to depart, to leave the country, / criminals. Many of them might even be in jail at this moment. They will be the first target. But it's massive just for those people. It might take a couple years, let alone trying to churn up that more people should self-deport, more people that don't belong here, have no legal ground to stand on. It's going to take the entire term to move on this stuff. All right, I'm coming to your calls next, though. Love to get you on board at 833, the number 4, Valdez. And looking for anybody that knows anything about crypto. Are you curious about it? Have you invested in it? As I said, my sense of it is that it's hot. It's relatively new. But there have been difficulties with people not satisfied once they take the plunge with this. It's a pretty risky proposition. You know, it seems intriguing. It seems like, wow, this is going to make America great again. In Pennsylvania, as I said, I have a lot of doubt about that. The TikTok thing is still lingering out there. And this idea of a Chinese company and an American company together, that will solve it. I don't see it. It's got to be an American company. You got to get the Chinese Communist Party out of this in order to be able to do anything with this. All right, 833, the number 4, Valdez. That gets you to me, Dom Giordano, sitting in for Rich.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
And that's Dom with an M, Dom Giordano, sitting in for Rich Valdez, coming from Philadelphia. One thing I noticed during that break, President Trump, then I'm going to the callers. President Trump signing an executive order, trying to get the exact language, asking for clarifications of birthright citizenship, trying to rein that in, knowing that just using an executive order on that's not going to work, that there's a constitutional question there, but trying to trim it or at least push back on something that certainly the base of Trump support, the average person, they hear, no, we're tired of this stuff. This is part of the root of the problem, birthright citizenship. So watch for that. He did sign an executive order on it. It doesn't mean with a stroke of a pen it's gone. It means the battle isn't joined on this. And the only area of disappointment I've had today that our guest tonight said would be corrected tomorrow is we didn't see any movement by ICE deporting people or setting them up for deportation, say, by the end of the week. Apparently out of fears of these sanctuary towns opposing violence happening, Chicago, New York, we'll see exactly what they do. Let's go to Matt, La Plata, Maryland, here on the Rich Valdez Show. Hello, Matt. Thank you for the wait. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it. I was, as my call was being screened, I was explaining to them, my thought process on some of these mayors in these, ridiculously liberal towns who clearly are only in this for whatever financial benefit is what it seems to me to be, are nothing more than like the mobsters of old, right, where they'd pay off the mayors in order to, move their goods, et cetera, et cetera. And that's exactly what it looks like, because there's really, what else is in it for them? Yeah.
Well, I would tell you, I would tell you, I differ with you a little bit. What else is in for them? They're ideologically, they actually believe in this, some of them. What's in for them is the goal of the Democrat Party to overwhelm and to basically cancel out elections. They believe getting these people, ultimately, however long it takes, the right to vote, would then just overwhelm the average American.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah. Good.
Where you are, Maryland is a perfect example, Matt. Yeah.
Perfect example, and I grew up in Tucson.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I was
exactly.
born in Waukegan, Illinois, just north of Chicago.
Oh,
so,
wait, I heard the accent a little bit there when you said Chicago. Yeah, you got the accent still a little bit.
All over the place,
yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I appreciate you taking my call, and, I really hope that, that the law prevails and that they're held accountable accordingly, because I truly believe there's a lot of people getting hurt, not just citizens, but even those people who are being moved, and it's really reprehensible.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks very much. Enjoyed talking with you. You can get in at 833 Valdez. I haven't been on in a while sitting in for Rich. He's a workhorse, but tonight the Trump call for the media team, you got to go to that so that you can get on these guests, great guests that Rich gets here every night. We may hear from him. I've been told that, but an update from these parties, kind of wild tonight. Maybe the last party night there in Washington, then people checking out of Dodge. As I said, Trump did sign an executive order fiddling around with the definition of birthright citizenship. Expect all this to be litigated, but it's a start towards something that all the time I've been in talk radio, people have complained about. This is ridiculous. The Constitution is not being read correctly on this. It wasn't meant to get over the line, have a baby, then everyone stays for generations. This is a large part of the problem, something that people want rectified. But let's face it, and our guest acknowledges tonight, what they're wary of right out of the box is an incident where a child's involved, the media all over it, with the deportation part. So they're trying to be surgical, and you're in hostile territory. Now, you should know this. I'll give you some of the bright spots. Where I am in Philadelphia, the mayor is a liberal Democrat, first African-American woman to take over. She has not, even though there's tremendous pressure, pushed back on President Trump on this issue, unlike the mayors of any number of these other cities. Denver is one of the worst. Chicago, the guy's just a Marxist. New York has been inundated. The Catholic Church is complicit in that. I'm not a fan of Cardinal Dolan, who did part of the homily there today. He is going after Catholics who say, well, we all came over here on the boat one way or the other. No, people came legally. It was a different time and a different place. This is being an inundation that America does not need. So where will Homan go tomorrow? Anyone's guess. But I do think you're going to see action on that. And we did see big action. By the way, I was hoping President Trump would say it, even in the State of the Union. I was told by a couple experts today, the speech after the swearing in, no, that's big picture stuff. Well, he did talk about the Gulf of Mexico. I wanted to hear there, not just over at the Capitol Center, the tax on tips. I'm adamant about that. I think that's brilliant. I think it's going to enhance the lives of so many Americans. He did talk about taking the 87,000 new IRS agents and make them into Border Patrol. We're going to get them out of there. So we'll see that battle, downsizing the federal government, how it goes legally back and forth. Let me go to Brian in Brunswick, Maine, though, here on the Rich Valdez America at Night show. Brian, welcome.
Hey, Dom. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the only thing I want to touch on, I was listening to another show. I'm not going to name any names, but they were saying that Trump wasn't very graceful to Biden. Well, you know, I hope the hell he feels a little uneasy like the rest of us have been for the last 4 years.
Well, I think it's even deeper than that. O'Reilly, who talks with him, I'd say a couple times a week, and Trump. And O'Reilly was on with me tonight, Brian. He told us that Trump feels that the Biden people went after not just Trump, but his family personally on this. And that's why he unloaded on him in the manner that he did. And I think I buy that, and I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, I do, too. I mean, I think he's going after most Americans. I don't think it's right, and he's not stood by us.
No, and he's been a censor. He's gone after people of faith, the FBI, and all the stuff that we've seen. That's why I think Kash Patel is the biggest player here. If he gets through with the FBI and what's in those files, et cetera, we are going to see a lot of action that Americans want.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope he was uncomfortable.
Well, he might have been non-compos mentis there, so it's hard to say. But thank you, Brian. Hey, coming up, more of your calls. And I'll break down a little bit of who will be the most consequential cabinet person. And I was told today pretty reliably by several sources, they think he will get some Democrat votes. That would be Robert Kennedy Jr. Why will he be the most consequential of all these people? Not as consequential as Trump, but in his own way, a legacy. I'll explain. Make America healthy again. It is going to be a big deal, and I have evidence of something that happened today that indicates that. All straight ahead here on America at Night.
Valdez. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4Valdez. That's Valdez with an S.
It's obviously Dom with an M. Why is Dom so hard to say? I go through this all the time in Philadelphia. Don, I've listened to you for 30 years. I'll put the M in, not the N. All right, welcome into America at Night. Who is it that's going to have the legacy biggest, I would argue, out of the cabinet, rivaling President Trump, if that's possible? RFK Jr. Couple things. One today, Steak and Shake announced, I don't have it in front of me, but it'll be relatively soon. They're kind of betting he's going to be confirmed and get through, so there'll be no repercussions on them that are negative, that they are going to move away from seed oil that they're using for their product, Steak and Shake, and they're going to be using beef tallow again that people used to use. Then the federal government apparently told them it was seed oil, was more healthful. It's not. RFK Jr. has made this a point, along with red dye, kids, different countries where they don't allow it. If he sticks to those areas, the legacy is going to be huge. And I'll give you an area where it'll help solidify the Republican Party. Had somebody on my show in Philadelphia today making a point over and over again that Trump has got sort of an opening here. Where I am in Philadelphia, the suburban counties have all gone blue, if you can imagine, and to varying degrees. One's kind of purple. Why is that? You know, look at the stuff that Democrats, how far left they've gone. Well, Trump got a bit of a breakthrough. He won Bucks County this time, first time that he's won one of these suburban counties, and Republicans did a little bit better. But RFK Jr. will break through with suburbanites, particularly moms, looking to have some help for the health of their kids. And if that's the play, and that's what he sticks to, also the people I talk with think he's going to get some Democrat votes. I'm not saying he's going to sail through, because he said a lot of stuff. I've interviewed him multiple times, particularly on vaccines. But on the food issue, people are looking for health on this. Now, I'm more in the camp that thinks that kids today are fat because they don't exercise as much. They don't run around as we used to, just 7 or 8 hours a day in the summer, that kind of thing. It's more that. But I used to eat heavy stuff, meatloaves, mashed potatoes, and all that. And you didn't have as many obese or fat kids. Why is that today? Why is there chronic disease more? Well, one of the causal elements would be the food. You stick to that, the steak and shake story today, and you're going to see every month almost, versus we have the story toward the end of the year, and I haven't had a chance to talk with you about it. I talked a lot on my own show in Philadelphia. This out-the-door Biden Surgeon General saying alcohol, leading cause of cancer. And we're not talking about, look, people that are borderline alcoholic. No. He was talking about moderate. A drink a day or 5 drinks a week, something like that. Not even spirits, wine. That's preposterous. Give me a break. I'm just not a believer. The evidence doesn't support it. And the LA Times ran a story in the last couple of days saying that, yeah, faithful religious people, remember what the Surgeon General said, none of that sacramental wine for you. I'm wondering if you are a religious person, and if you are someone who thinks that maybe you shouldn't be drinking sacramental wine. It's a core value of some religious groups. The LA Times writing about that just in the last day or so. Come on, stop it already. People are not going to, hopefully, are not going to follow this. Let me go to Jerome in Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, Jerome, welcome to the show. Hi.
Hey, Dom, did you have enough white people at the Klan rally today? Inauguration?
Well, thank you, Jerome. Have a nice night, Jerome. The Republican Party has diversified. Look at the polling. Look at the voting patterns. Look at how much Trump has moved the needle, particularly with Hispanic voters. Okay? So if we're going to be bean counting and going down that path, just look at the election results. That's the story of this last election. Our buddy Doc is in Wilmington, WDEL. Hey, Doc, how have you been?
Dom, love you, baby.
Thank you,
You've
Doc.
taken my calls many times on the Big Talker. It's so good to hear your voice, my brother, on the show tonight. Hear me out. I'm of Ukrainian heritage. I don't care what the president's views are on anything. We had to have a change. I voted for President Donald J. Trump 3 times. I'm proud that I did. We have to have a change. The demon rats run my state of Delaware. They're running into the ground. And you're a wonderful state of Pennsylvania. At least you have a choice with the Republicans. You're a purple state. Let's make it pink, if not all red. Okay? If
We're
President
working
Trump
on it.
Sticks to his guns. You're working on it. Hear me out. If President Trump sticks to his guns and doesn't go too far to the right, that's my point, too far to the far right, and keep the MAGA voters and also broaden the base and get those suburban Philly counties he can have a legacy that will last for years, and then he has to pave the way for J.D. Vance in 2028. That's
exactly the plan. Doc, as always, thank you. Thanks. It wouldn't be a show without hearing from you. Appreciate it very much. Get in right now at 833, the number 4 Valdez. 833, the number 4 Valdez. VALDES is how you get in. Watch for RFK Jr. Now, Kash Patel has some pop there, too, with the FBI. That's going to be quite a battle. Tulsi Gabbard will be quite a battle, too, but Kash Patel is a real deal. When I first started to interview him, take a look, this is a while back, I look at the resume. It's unbelievable, the positions that he served the country in. And if he's inside the FBI, the stuff that the thing that I want to get to the bottom, maybe in the biggest scheme of things, it seems small ball, not to me, is how in the world did the Richmond FBI office issue that directive to surveil, to follow up license plate numbers, look at these people? These were Catholics. I'm a Catholic. These were Catholics that were going to a mass that was in Latin. More conservative Catholics surveilled while the country goes to hell, the FBI. And Christopher Wray never allowed the agent in charge there, and this may have been more widespread, to surface under oath and testifying. So I hope we get to the bottom of that. We get the records of Kash Patel or someone of that sort is the FBI director. That's something. I know there are bigger fish, President Trump talking about, and he has said this before, I hope he does it, that we see the documents around the assassination of Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, John Kennedy, at least those. That may happen. It's a whirlwind today. We got a lot of time. We got 4 years, and is every day going to be a whirlwind? It appears to be. Here's how you get in, though, tonight. 833, the number 4 Valdez, 833-482-5337. That will get you to me. Jump on board, and I'm looking for somebody that knows anything about crypto. Watch for RFK Jr. to be the star out of this. As far as the great potential, I just gave you one, Steak and Shake suddenly today announcing, nope, we're going back to beef tallow. And it's obvious, the science all indicates that's more healthful for individuals than is the nonsense with seed oil. And there's a long history of how people got forced into that. This is going to make a difference in lives, and particularly with children. And politically, the difference is maybe suburbanites will go, wow, finally some science people in government that are actually trying to help us navigate all this stuff. All right, jump on board. You'll get in with Dom here on America at Night.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, the Rich Valdez Show. Am I going now to the 51st state? Is that just a troll by President Trump? Let's go to Tony in Montreal, Canada. Hey, Tony, would you like to be the 51st state? Welcome in.
I don't think so. I'll tell you this. Every time I hear this kind of troping thing going on, I always say there's more in common with Vermont, Maine, and upstate New York and Canada. And imagine if someone in Canada said, "Hey, why don't we try to convince Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and upstate New York to become Canadians?" Because you know what? Those states have more in common with Canada, let's say Ontario and Quebec, than they do with Louisiana, Texas, and Georgia. But like what's good is that you have a great country with a lot of diversity, and we have an amazing country with a lot of diversity. But the truth is that we are the two greatest democracies on the planet, and we are each other's great ally, and it'll never, ever be different. It'll always be the same, because the lunch bucket people in the United States and the lunch bucket people in Canada are the backbone of both countries.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think things are going to be better, too, without Trudeau, who may be summering in Cuba at some point here. So I think things are going to be much better.
His dad is down there, right? Isn't his dad down, Fidel baby? Wasn't Fidel baby?
Yes, a red diaper baby, definitely.
It's either that or Mick Jagger down in Studio 54, right?
Yeah. Well, Pierre Trudeau was a high flyer. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he loved his women too. He had Barbara Streisand as a girlfriend.
Yes.
He had a lot of girlfriends. Pierre did, and his son is no different. So his marriage obviously broke up. I feel sad for his kids, and nobody advocates for a breakup of a marriage. But anyway,
no. So how are you looking at today then, Tony, from Canada? How do you see it?
Well, you talk about Trump coming in today. I listened to the whole thing from early 5 o'clock in the morning. I listened to it. I talked to different guys I like on VMT in WVMT in Vermont. But what I see is it's an interesting dilemma. Like the legacy media is always pounding on the Trump legacy and the Trump actions. But look at Joe Biden before he leaves office, as he's flying in that helicopter that took away different presidents. He's pardoning his whole family. Allegedly, his family never did any criminality, but they're being pardoned, for potential future criminal action.
Yeah,
Pretty sad. But the thing is, the thing is, people forget that Jimmy Carter himself pardoned hundreds of thousands of draft dodgers.
Yes.
People forget that. He had a blanket amnesty for all the draft dodgers. And then, of course, the pardon is an emergency. It's an emergency power of the presidency, and for various reasons, it's in the Constitution to actually create peace after an insurrection or
and you know what?
war.
That is a great point. And you know what? Even with the Civil War, to your point, I've read the Grant book pretty thoroughly. Grant had to step up and say, look, Robert E. Lee was honorable. We're not going to be going after and punishing Robert E. Lee or anything like that. How in the world will that create peace? Thanks for a great call, Tony. Yeah, that's what the intent of the pardon is. But what they now provoke with presidents is just controversy. Go back to Ford pardoning Nixon. Certainly, I would say the argument and the balance, and it's close, the right move to bring the country back together after that. But you can argue he's not above the law, Nixon escaped, etc. All right, final calls of the night coming up. 833, the number 4, Valdez. That will get you to me, and we'll come to you rapidly here on a very busy day. Hey, watch for this if you see it. A real good source of mine just sent me something listening here. Senior Executive Service, these people are called. Trump either curtailed or kiboshed them tonight, feeling in the first term they're part of the deep state, if you will, that undermined him. And if you noticed, the Trump people really drilled down to the sub-cabinet head, to the assistant director of this, that, and the other. They really want to put their own people in place, and what I hear, they've done that now. I don't think these people need confirmation. So they get it. You'll have, even if you have the head of the cabinet, you have a bunch of people slow-walking everything. They'll run out the clock. It's different this time around. You can feel it. All right, final calls coming up with Dom Giordano sitting in for Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Hey, welcome in, everyone. Dom Giordano pinch hitting for Rich tonight. Let me go to Pat in Sedona, Arizona. Hey, Pat, thanks for the wait. Hi.
Hey, Giordano, sir. Thank you. Hey,
you're
great
welcome.
Choice by to have you, man. I love listening to your voice, sir. I think these preempted pardons could not be legal, and I think we're going to probably need the Supreme Court to rule on this, because I'm going to tell you, these people should not get away with it, especially Fauci. I mean, he's knowledgeable for people dying. And I just think that they have to really concentrate on this situation.
Oh, yeah. Again, constitutionally, they could do something about this. I don't know if the Supreme Court can. Well, you're making a good point. The preemptive pardon versus pardoning something that something's been done. Maybe that's the angle. Maybe they could at least rule on that. But, Pat, these are tough areas. We want presidents to have the power to pardon, but the abuse of this, same thing with the 25th Amendment. I want the 25th Amendment should have applied with Biden, but if you remember in the first Trump term, they were trying to use it on him as a way to force him out. So these are delicate issues.
Yes, I agree. I mean, it can be used politically. I know all these measures can be used politically, and I just think it stinks to high hell. And, Biden showed him flying off in his Air Force helicopter, and it was saying goodbye, Biden, hey, bye, Joe, that song. And, you just say, oh, man, he's going to get away with it. But you know what? In reality, and and I know, he's never going to get away with it. In the end, he will pay for all this. If you're a Christian, and we go in front of the big guy, at the end, he's going to have to call for what he done, and all those people. So think about it that way, people. It's just don't let it get mad. Just go ahead. You need to go forward, not backwards.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you, Pat. Thanks for that. Look, this is a very difficult area. Anything you change constitutionally takes a lot of effort, a lot of drill down, a lot of start. And there's just not we get outraged over it. You're going to see tomorrow's headlines, and when Rich is back, quite a discussion over the January 6 pardons / commutations. I think there are people that should have remained in jail, although small in number. I think a lot of these people were overcharged, bumping up what are misdemeanors clearly into felonies, and then giving them outrageous punishment for minimal things, if that, what they did with January 6th. Rich will be back tomorrow night, though, and I'm sure he'll have a lot of stories to regale you with from the Trump media event tonight. I'm just always honored to have an opportunity occasionally to sit in for him, and I want to thank great producers, Tom and Alex, every time I've worked this over the last 10, 15 years. But even more recently with these guys, it is just a great backup and a chance to talk with people all over the country. Great stuff tonight. Follow me on Twitter at DomShow1210. Listen in Philadelphia. And thank you on a big historic day for being with me tonight on the Rich Valdez Show on America at Night on Westwood One.